Today, we're diving into a pretty chilling argument. What if the playbook for today's biggest tech companies wasn't written in Silicon Valley at all, but in 16th century Florence? Let's peel back the layers on this. So, the source material we're looking at kicks off with this really powerful statement, and it's designed to completely reframe how you think about technology. The argument is that you're not a user or a customer. No, it's something way more passive. You are the territory to be controlled. And that really leads us to the central question we're going to be tackling. It forces you to stop and think, right? What are the real motives behind the platforms we use every single day? Are they just convenient tools? Or are they actually instruments for a whole new kind of power? Okay, so let's really get into the core argument here. The idea is that Niccolo Machiavelli, yep, that Machiavelli, the infamous political philosopher, is the real mind behind our current tech landscape. You know, the sword has been swapped out for the algorithm, but that ruthless, cold logic of power, it's exactly the same. And this really illustrates a crucial shift, right? Back in the 2010s, the whole ethos was move fast and break things. It was all about chaotic, disruptive innovation. But the argument here is that that era is long gone. The goal now, it's not just to innovate anymore. It's to achieve total, calculated, algorithmic dominance. And this gets to the heart of the duplicity they're talking about. Publicly, you see this image of the CEO as a visionary philanthropist, someone who's building a utopia for all of us. But the argument is that behind closed doors, the reality is a cold-blooded political realist whose one and only goal is to crush any and all competition. I mean, this is pure Machiavelli, just updated for the digital age. It's better to be feared than loved. The idea is that inspiring loyalty or, affection, that's nice, but it's secondary. What really matters is inspiring fear. In today's corporate battles, fear. The fear of being cut off, deplatformed, or just totally outcompeted, that's the most powerful and, profitable tool you have. So the question is, how is this power actually built? We're shifting a bit now from the why to the how, the actual playbook, the specific tactics used to create what the source calls an architecture of cruelty. And this first tactic, wow, it's a masterclass in PR. Think about it. How do you justify something like mass automation that displaces tons of workers? Well, you frame it not as a choice you're making, but as an unavoidable virtue of necessity. It's just the price of progress. And just like that, the person making the call is off the hook, morally speaking. And here, we get into the real nuts and bolts of how they inspire that fear. They apply immense pressure on developers. They control everything through restrictive API gatekeeping, and they make absolutely sure that they are the sole arbiters of who succeeds and who fails in their world. You get the picture. They become the power you absolutely cannot afford to cross. This next one is another classic Machiavellian concept, the fox and the lion mindset. See, Machiavelli said a ruler has to be a cunning fox to see the traps, but also a ferocious lion to scare off the wolves. And in the tech world, that means acting like the clever, compliant fox in front of regulators, while behind the scenes, you're the lion, using brute force and massive capital to build an untouchable monopoly. Okay, so that's how you deal with the competition. But what about the public? The conquered territory. We're now going to look at how that is managed. Because building a digital empire isn't just about crushing rivals. It's about controlling the story, and more importantly, controlling everyone's attention. And this one, I'm sure we've all seen this one. Publicly, it's all about we are deeply committed to your privacy. You hear it all the time. But well, the entire business model often depends on doing the exact opposite. This is that stark contradiction, what our source calls the strategic pivot. You say one thing, while the machine you built just keeps intensifying its data extraction. Back in ancient Rome, the emperors used bread and circuses to keep everyone happy, docile, and distracted from the real issues. Well, according to this analysis, what's the modern version? It's the endless scroll. It's the addictive short-form videos and those gamified apps. They keep us occupied, sure, entertained, absolutely, but fundamentally, they keep us distracted. So how do you hide what's really going on? With your secret algorithms or where your funding is really coming from? Simple. You practice what's called simulated transparency. You put out these glossy reports, you host fancy panels, you create the illusion of being open, all while your core operations stay a complete and total black box. It's a brilliant piece of misdirection. Okay, So you've established your power, you've controlled the narrative. What's next? Well, now you have to secure your territory. This part is all about the endgame, how to build a digital fortress that is basically impossible to escape from or to attack. And the fortress strategy really breaks down into 3 key steps. First, you neutralize your rivals. Buy them out or just poach all their best talent. Second, you create these deep lock-ins, building an ecosystem that's just too painful or expensive for anyone to leave. And third, you eliminate dissent. Platform bans, algorithmic deranking, you crush it before it can ever gain any real traction. And this quote, this really gets to the heart of the whole thing. Strategic betrayal is the ultimate competitive advantage. In this world, loyalty is fleeting. Alliances are just tools to be used and discarded. The willingness to betray a partner or break a promise, that's not seen as a moral failure. No, it's framed as the ultimate winning business strategy. All right, let's bring all of this together in our final section. This is where the whole argument really culminates. The idea here is that this isn't just about big companies anymore. We're talking about a fundamental shift in the very nature of global power. The really critical point is this. These tech leaders are starting to wield a type of power that until now was only held by governments. Think about it. By controlling the pipes of communication, the very flow of information, they effectively become digital monarchs. They're ruling over vast empires that don't care about lines on a map. So what happens when this is the world we live in? Well, when ruthless pragmatism becomes the only rule, other things, important things, get pushed to the side. The argument is that the end goal stops being about real innovation or about what's best for you, the consumer. It just becomes about getting power and holding on to it for its own sake. And this, right here, is the final thesis. The modern CEO hasn't moved past Machiavelli's ideas. They've just scaled them. They've taken his darkest lessons about power and applied them on a global, digital level that Machiavelli himself couldn't have even imagined. So we'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. The old empires, they were built on land, right? Enforced with armies. But the argument we've explored today is that the new empires, they're invisible. They are algorithmic, built on code and enforced by systems that quietly shape what you see, what you think, and ultimately, who's really in control.